Hello everybody and welcome to yet another top player interview. World number 5 and recent winner of the Shenzhen Super Tournament, I'm going to say it, is here. Anish Giri, how you doing?
Thank you. I was expecting more of an introduction like Mr. 2750 or something, whatever my miserable rating is, but what the hell.
Nah, come on, it's 2787.
Okay.
You started before Shamkir on 2797, then it went a bit down, and now
Yeah.
you're almost back up there. Is the 2800 wall like an issue?
No, not particularly, but yeah, bad moves are sometimes an issue.
I've heard of that problem. So in general, I want to talk about the Shenzhen tournament. You got into it having finished last in Shamkir, and you didn't have very much rest. Like, how much was it?
Yeah, not really very little, because I also traveled to China in advance to be well rested there and acclimatize. And I even I traveled via Georgia, so I haven't even gone back to Holland. So yeah, I mean, basically in few days, like, I don't know, 3-4 days I was flying, and then I spent a bit short of a week in China and started the tournament.
After having a bad result and then a little rest, are you anxious to get back to play, or would you rather have a little break and go back to the lab?
Yeah, it's hard to say what's better. Of course, I think most people, they want to be back. I mean, they want to sort of prove themselves that they can play well. But for some, probably it's better, despite that you want that, to still take it cool, because, inevitably you are affected by bad results, and it's never good. I mean, you are either too anxious or you are too depressed, or whatever it is, you are too much of that. So I don't think it's very good to play quickly after a bad result, but well, I was not somehow too hurt by Shamkir for some reason. Probably because, this year is very long and I have a lot of challenges ahead. When you have something to look forward to, you don't really dwell too much on your mistakes and just look forward to the next thing.
How are things in Shenzhen? I can't really picture it. It's like a 6-player double round-robin tournament, and I'm guessing it's not really in the city center. Is it lonely over there?
No, it's paradise. I mean, Shenzhen is near Hong Kong, and it is a very, very green city. And around this time of the year, it feels like you are in the tropics. Yeah, there is this rain. There is like a rainforest there. I mean, the hotel territory is huge. The hotel is one of the best hotels I've stayed in, and I stayed in some really good hotels. I mean, it's really a good place. Just that it's very humid and already actually pretty hot. So it's already sometimes too hot to have a comfortable walk. And when you walk through this jungle-like environment, you sometimes start seeing snakes around you. I mean, they're not there, but you start seeing them, because you see them in the movies. So it's a bit uncomfortable.
You exchanged coaches on the way. You were with Vladimir Truchilov in Shamkir, and then our old friend Erwin Lamy joined you for Shenzhen. Is that who you spent like 90% of your time with during such a tournament?
The second, you mean? Yeah, for sure. I mean, I went to both tournaments without my wife. I guess when you go with your wife, you spend a little less time with the seconds than otherwise, because now you are basically either alone or with the second. And of course, one of the main advantages of having a trainer or a second is that you don't get to be very lonely. And if you want to have a walk with someone, you have a walk with him, or you have some company during the meals as well. And also, of course, to do a lot of work. So yeah, I think I spend a lot of time with my seconds. Though sometimes I also like to be a little bit alone, especially during repeating of my analysis, for example, and checking the lines. Sometimes I like to be alone just to focus a little better, because then when someone is next, still it's a small distraction.
So you never get sick of Erwin and his rook ending stories, whatever. You tell him, okay, come on, give me a break?
Well, I learned to appreciate that. But yeah, of course, you are right. In general, when you spend a lot of time with someone, you certain things that are continuously coming back. Yeah, like there are movies and stuff about it. You get annoyed with certain little things. Yeah, but no, Erwin's Rook and Game stories, they just never grow old now.
All right, let's get into the tournament. In the first round, you were facing Yu Yang-yi with the black pieces. Yu Yang-yi, he had a bad tournament, but everything I'd seen from him before, there was no reason to guess that, right? He's quite stable and good.
Yeah, Yu Yang-yi is a strong player. He's just beneath the top 10. He's very close. I think last Shenzhen tournament, he crossed briefly the top 10 mark, but I think by the end of it, he dropped again to 11th. But he's a very, very good player. Yeah, he's pretty all-round, I think. His preparation is specific. He certainly works differently than I do. I see that from the games he plays. But I wouldn't say it's bad. I mean, it's definitely not bad. It's pretty good sometimes. And otherwise, I mean, he's just a good player. And when I'm playing black pieces against a player like that, I just want to be... usually I want to just be solid and hope for the best.
So in that game, you got this opening, which I thought went out of fashion a bit after your own game against Kramnik, maybe, this C6 line. And were there any noteworthy moments?
But it's back a little bit because this bishop before C6 setup, it was... I actually discovered it before that game with Kramnik. It was already played a couple times by some 2600 players, Tbilisi, and I noticed it was surprisingly good, especially with those computers back then. Like, you wouldn't get the evaluation above zeros, yeah. So I thought, like, wow, what kind of stuff is that? But I thought, okay, he doesn't know, so it's fine. Though I still was concerned. And then when I went to the game, Kramnik played it, of course, and then I was like, wow. Yeah. And then he told me after the game that, yeah, the variation is just closed. But it is an odd system. I mean, you instead of preparing c5, you start transferring the bishop somewhere. And I think recently there have been some tries. I think Fabi didn't beat Lanier, but he played against Lanier and he got a good position at some point in the American Championship. So I actually looked at the line recently. So it's still there. In general, you see the trend nowadays with the new computers and so on. The chess, it seems to be not shrinking, but the contrary, expanding. And the lines that were thought to be closed are opening back and so on. So I think a little reason to get depressed and much more reason to work hard again.
What happened in the game? He played this A3 B4 concept and was some slow maneuvering, but it never felt like you got any particular problems, no?
Yeah, I was aware of this plan. I knew that you should allow it before because the trap here, the main trap is that you want to go c5. And that's really bad. As I think Gelfand beat Hare Krishna in the tournament in Czech Republic. But yeah, I knew that you can allow it before and then you start maneuvering around and there's c4 square and knight jumps in there. It's actually funny. It's a bit like Meran, but the bishop is not on b7, it's on g6, which is much better. So yeah, actually I was slightly puzzled. I mean, especially after the game. When I looked at the game, of course, during the game I was never sure how good my position is. I felt I was fine and I liked it. But I was not sure. I mean, he went for it himself, so nobody asked him. So I thought, well, maybe it's equal or whatever. And then after the game, it turned out I was better for the bigger part of it. And then I was wondering what exactly he had prepared and what he had in mind. But sometimes, okay, when preparation doesn't work, it looks not so good. But had I gone c5 and lost quickly, it would have been awkward, yeah.
Right. In the final position, did you feel you could have played on, or is there just nothing to do for either set?
No, it's definitely not a dead position. I could have for sure played on, but I didn't really understand it very well, to be frank, and there was a little time. So I was not thinking about offering a draw myself. In general, I don't think about that because it's a very disturbing thought, and also offering a draw and then getting refused, it can also lead to some uncomfortable feelings. So I was not considering to offer a draw. I was looking forward to... I was ready to play on, but when he offered it himself, I thought, well, okay, I don't really get it. There's not that much time to get it. I feel I'm doing fine, but and that I cannot be doing much better. I could be slightly better, but I thought, okay, to start with the draw with black pieces is fine. And after Shamkir, I wanted to play one good game and just in a row, you know.
Oh, that's interesting about the draw, because as a big draw aficionado, if I offer a draw and I get refused, I'm normally very happy about it, because then I don't have to think about it anymore. Because for me it can be very crippling that should I offer a draw or not, and once I got it out of the way, I'm normally quite happy.
That's an interesting way of looking at it, and I will probably apply it once I will offer a draw and be refused. I'll think of you and think like, well, it's good, good thing happened there. But in reality, from my...
Good.
No, go ahead.
So for me, the problem is that, of course, the time spent thinking about when you should offer a draw is just such a waste of time, and I think if I just never did, it would be much better.
Well, for sure. I remember when we had the first time I played with the Sofia rule, which was at some point still rare, and I played Dortmund, some old Dortmund, 2011 or something. And I had the game with Hikaru, and it was a very equal position, and I was really very confused because it's clear that we both sort of want to draw, but we cannot offer it. And it was a very rare instance, and actually I blundered the pawn there, simply. I was so unused to the whole situation, and now it's actually the opposite. There are so many events with this no draw at all, or no draw before move to 40 or 30 or whatever, and to be honest, if you get used to it, that's much healthier. I mean, and also I don't really see the need for a draw to exist at all. I mean, if they want to remove it altogether, I don't see any problem. If a position is extremely dead, players can easily find their way to finish the game. They'll repeat moves. And I also am not a person who, some players, they get very arrogant about, for example, sometimes they have 3 against 3 with the rook endgame and it's a dead draw, and they suddenly feel the need to agree a draw against all the rules. Yeah, let's say they haven't made move 40 or they haven't asked the arbiter, and they just want to make a statement that it's a draw. But I mean, if you want, you can just repeat the moves 3 times, and no need to bother arbiters for that. So I think that this whole thing is, but of course once you get a draw offer, that's different because it's offered to you and you have an opportunity to sort of get a result to end the game in a certain result, and that is of course a little bit different because well, if you end the game right there, then the psychology no longer plays any role. So in a way you have to consider it.
In there. So in round number 2, you get to play Hare Krishna with the white pieces, and we have to give a shout out to our friend Jordan Van Forest, because his idea, 11 bishop b3, I think came as a surprise for game number 38 in a row, and you got a nice position, no?
Yeah, no, it's a very, very funny idea, because also the computers at the website, they don't like it, because of they're missing a nuance later on. So, I was surprised that although not 100% surprised, of course I was surprised that he didn't know about it, but you have to understand that lately he's been playing other openings, I think in particular time under variation, and before, and he played a few games in a row there. He played it against some top player, either Vashila Graf, I think, or no, I think Vashila Graf. He also played it first round against Tsekovenko, and when you are in this time under variation, you for a while stop following, of course, the games in the Italian, very likely. So he switched just before the game, and when you switch just before the game, there is not enough time to physically check all the lines that I play. And also, I don't have to go e4. I can also play d4, and I can play the English. And so, in a way, if let's say an e4, e5 player who's always been very meticulous would miss that, let's say if I played Leko or I don't know, Levonov, for example, and he would miss that idea, I would be very surprised. But Hare Krishna, at that particular point in time, he was not entirely on top of the theory of the Italian, so I was not surprised.
So I don't think it's spoiling too much if we say bishop d1 is probably not the most critical, like the line starts with queen f5 there. Then after bishop d1...
computer will say that queen f5, the black is better, but after knight ef3, of course, it just begins there. After bishop d1, no, I knew the game Jordan against the Rugger, and I knew that white was better there, but I had to figure it out at the board. But okay, obviously we know from Sam Shankland book that you have to put the b3 pawn to b4, yeah? Otherwise it's going to be blocked with a5.
Oh, right. And then it can't
then you're doomed
forward
for life.
Or back. Right.
No. After a5, you're doomed for life, yeah, because b3 pawn is weak. So you have to go b4 and improve your pawn structure, and then after that, it's clear I have to get the knight to c5. So I mean, I had very easy play, and I was not deeply prepared there, but I knew it's better for white, and which is, by the way, important, because if you don't know that it's really better for white, you might sort of think like, you might half try, you might think like, yeah, well, it's not a big deal, let me try a bit, but I knew it was really better for white, so it motivated me to look for the best move instead of just a good one.
Then in the game, where did things turned from better to really bad?
I think a lot of moves he made were not very challenging. I mean, already knight d7, I'm not sure it's so great because it's very passive. And then I was really happy after rook fd8 because then I can play g4 and we don't have to worry about f5. I was a little more concerned about f5, although f5 I was on knight g5 and I was happy there. And I think I was thinking the best move would be h6 there. And the idea is after g4 he goes f5, and then after knight g3 already fg8g. It's a little bit different structure and it's less clear what I had achieved rather than in the game. Because after rook fd8, g4, I have like next 3-4 moves are easy, and I was very happy there.
Right, so more or less easy victory.
Yeah, surprisingly. It was a bit deceiving because I guess Harry he likes sometimes to be a bit passive. To be very solid, and in that position it was so solid for black. There were no pawn weaknesses that he felt. I think he felt the margin is bigger than it was, so it got really bad really fast, and I think he sort of skipped the moment when he had to be desperate. So yeah, surprisingly it was an easy win, and I was very very happy, of course, because at Championship I hadn't had such games, and I was very happy to actually win a game, and a good one too.
Then we continue with your game with black against Dingliren. The final position was funny. Before that, some theoretical debate.
Well, I mean, nowadays anything is a theoretical debate. I mean, even if you play knight f3, b3, the guys know what have a setup in mind, and then especially some players like Vishayanand, for example. I mean, he's thought about every move order possible. So nowadays, I think at the top level, almost anything is a theoretical debate. And if you play the London system, also you have something in mind. And players had many games, so that you know their setup. You think about your setup. So in that sense, this was not a main theoretical variation. It was some kind of anti-Catalan, but for sure, he wanted something. I wanted something too, and we had a little bit of a debate there.
Yeah, I haven't checked the game very closely. I just saw the computer doesn't understand, even in the final positions, that it's completely locked up. Like, they're a bit stupid about these things still, no?
Yeah, sometimes, yes. Especially, yeah, I mean, it should be programmable, although it is pretty hard because the border between a fortress and not a fortress is, of course, pretty thin. So suppose in that position white doesn't have a pawn on a4, it has it on a2, and I pushed a4, then I have the a file open, and then, yeah, sometimes it's really hard to say if that is still a fortress then or not. Okay, suppose that position with pawn on a4 is minus, let's say, -1 for black by computer. Then, what if pawn is not on a4 and white goes a4, suddenly it's zeros, or sometimes you have these fortresses that are even half fortresses. In a way, yeah, you should just be able to read these evaluations. If you see minus 0.90 and you see with the eyes that it's draw, maybe just let the computer be wrong. I mean, it's very hard because sometimes, in this case, it's obviously a case of it has to be zeros in the end because it's really a draw. But sometimes it's like a half fortress, yeah? And then you don't know what kind of number to give it. So in a way, I understand the programmers are struggling there a little bit.
We had some discussions. If you replaced your queen on c5 in the final position with, let's say, a black pawn, is it still a draw?
I mean, look at my position then, to be sure. I had such thoughts during the game as well. Some pirouetted thoughts. Yeah, because there's some story that some kind of, I don't know, Tarash or someone, he had a position, he offered the guy a draw. The guy said, I'll play on a bit, to which Tarash removed it was a bishop endgame, which was closed, and he removed the bishop.
Right.
And said it's still a draw.
Right.
Yes, it's okay. If I'll remove my queen from c5, the guy will have to sack a bishop on...
Yeah, okay, bishop d2, bishop takes b4, or bishop g5.
Or bishop g5. Okay, must be... yeah, it's funny. Yeah, must be lost bishop g5, probably, and then it takes with pawn h6 and rook to h5. Okay, I'll go bishop e6, rook g8. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And then bishop before cb, bishop before ab maybe, and then a5. Yeah, it's tough. Rook a6.
Yeah, some rook a6, bishop c6, but maybe there's some chances.
Yeah, you see, it's good to have a margin. To have a position where even if you give a queen for a pawn, you're probably still fine. That's how the chess I like. when you're nicely typed. There's a small margin there.
Absolutely. More black games. Black against Yakovenko. Did you join Team Sveshnikov? Like, everybody's playing the Sveshnikov now.
I just show the guys that if I wanted, I could join Team Sveshnikov. But only if I wanted. Not because I have to, because I'm afraid of something in the e4, e5, or because I'm scared of playing neither, or because it's too much for me. I mean, if I want to join Team Sveshnikov, I join Team Sveshnikov, but on my terms, and not because I'm desperate like some other characters out there.
So you think maintaining 3-4 main openings is doable, like whatever you play, Naidorf, Sveshnikov, e4, e5 stuff?
Well, it's very hard. I mean, as I told you with Harry, he played the he missed something in Italian. So it's very hard to maintain a lot of openings, but I think if you are smart about it and with a bit of luck, you can occasionally join Team Sveshnikov and not be punished for it.
Right. So yeah, that game looked like not much happened. Easy draw. Then the next game was with White against Rapport. What went wrong there? He played some. I think I read about the 3-5 in UHS SOS. No?
Yeah, I knew 3-5. I mean, I'm a big follower of Badur Jobava's games, so I know all of his little systems. And this is one of them. And actually, I knew too much because I knew 5 knight g7. And then I didn't remember the details, but I knew that the lines begin with d4, take everything, then somewhere a6, then bishop can drop back wherever it wants. But he started with a6, and that's a bit confusing. And it's actually better than knight e7. And I sort of tried figuring out what would be the punishment, because I thought maybe, bishop e2 is just bad because of knight f6, he's fine. I thought about bishop a4 or bishop c4 even. Bishop c4 with idea b5, bishop d5. And I should have done one of these, but I decided to take on c6, and I missed this edcd bishop g4 thing. And then I went for a line which I didn't think was good already, but then I blundered from afar that 13 rook e1 is met by long castle.
Oh, right.
And once that is there, suddenly the whole thing is very sad.
Then
I was very lucky there actually to that the game didn't get out of hand after that, because it was. I later looked at it a bit, analyzed it a little bit. It was a really bad position after a4, especially after knight e7. I think. I mean, it was even worse than I thought.
Yeah, instead of rook d5, he had some rook d7 or whatever.
Yeah, they're already. I am not that bad, but I think after 13 a4, 13 knight e7 was really. And it was really big for some reason. Then some f6, king f7 would come, and I was just not in time with my rook a3, rook b3 thing.
So, yeah, dodged the bullet is a bit strong, but can't complain about the draw, I guess. There.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, okay, you have to take into account also the... I mean, if you saw Richard that day, he didn't... How to say... they didn't breathe confidence and happiness, let me put it that way. So, in that sense, it didn't feel like I dodged a giant bullet, but if you look purely at the position, yeah, I was in big trouble at some point.
What's he up to these days? Like, of course, he's been a big talent for a long time, and 27 plus, like, sometimes, it feels like he's not so happy with the state of things, no?
Yeah, to be honest, he has made a name for himself, and he will forever remain a very enterprising player, but some of his games lately have really not been too inspired. And I think he probably... his results are fine, but occasionally he, for some reason... chooses to play it very safe or not go for a big fight when he could. I think it's just a matter of confidence, and probably he'll regain it and be back with some fun chess. But he still plays well. I mean, he still plays fine. He scored 50% in Shenzhen, which is very decent, and he even won some rating, I think. And his results in Vike was also all right. So. I mean, okay, right now probably he struggles a bit with the inspiration department, but I think just the sound of his name already excites everyone. So I'm sure he'll find some motivation there too, and be back with fun games.
And you won another game that looked like a bit of an opening disaster for Yu Yang Yi. I didn't fully understand what was going on, but after c5, d5, you're better already, no? Like,
actually, not sure, because I think he can take there on d5. There is some complicated line that I was calculating, and I checked it later. He's kind of all right maybe there. But certainly,
11 or something,
yeah.
yeah, knight d5, bishop e4 or some trick. I thought
Bishop
was
f6, yeah, bishop f6.
Knight d5.
Yeah, bishop b2, rook b1. Then there is bishop c6, rook b2, f5, knight e7, queen e7, takes on c6, queen d5 check, where I stopped my calculation. But then there's queen f7, takes and queen c4. And
this continues. Okay.
yeah, this of course I didn't see that. And then after queen c4, at least the website computer said it was equal, some kind of perpetual incoming. But you have to know this to go for it. But I think he got slightly move ordered, yeah. I think he was not aware of all these things, and I was also a bit confused because I think this DC BC. Then some people start with c5. I mean, some go b6. Then there's d4. I don't know. It's not even clear what kind of opening it is. Huh? I mean, it's no longer. I already have my pawn on d4, so it's no longer some kind of. But it's some kind of a strange hybrid of. It's not yet an opening. Yeah, it looks like some mixture of some kind of nimzo, and I don't know what.
Yeah, it's very sad for me that nowadays even knight f3, e3, b3 you have to start doing work on with the black pieces. Like there's so many problems.
Yeah, but that's what I meant at the start. I mean, I think any move you make now, which is a little bit sensible, is posing some problems. So you have to really work very hard with both. But at the same time, for white, it's also not so easy because against knight f3, e3, okay, it is challenging as well. But black has like 10 reasonable systems. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, at least in the Catalan, they're probably like, okay, Catalan is a bad example, but let's say in the Spanish, there are maybe 3 good systems. But in knight f3, e3, black has like maybe 7 good systems.
Right.
So it's more work for both sides. But of course, yeah, the top players nowadays are enjoying themselves again, I think, and are checking a lot of lines.
In the game, after b5, you just have a long-lasting edge, and were there critical moments, or it just went smoothly?
Yeah, well,
again?
fun moment was 21 rook g5, because there was a nice trap that I think why he went for it. Knight f6 is a mistake, move 20. He should have gone for, I thought queen c6 bothered me the most. And I was a little worried that my advantage is slipping away slightly. But after knight f6, it was very nice for me because I have rook g5, and then he planned h6, I think. But then it's very nice that I have bishop f6, g knight g5, g6, and now knight e6, which is a very nice little cheapo. And it's always the moments like this that you'd never see when you follow the game. But this is usually a reason why a player stumbles, because he misses a tactic like that. But of course, the computer never really says that, never shows that, because computer already sees it from afar. So actually, that because of this little tactic, suddenly after knight f6, rook g5, I'm again much better. And then I was, I was just better. But at some point, I probably could have played the end game better, because towards the end he already had a draw at some point.
Was like 102 moves, long grind. What was the time control there? Was it a 7-hour game?
There was increment, because in Shamkir there wasn't, and there was increment. Let me see by my time. No, I think it was 130 plus 30. Yeah, 130 plus 30. That's it. Yeah.
So it's like 6 hours if you play 100 moves.
Yeah. Well, it was funny. At some point, he had a drawing set up with a knight on e6, and I sort of completely relaxed because I saw already that I have nothing to do there at all. I mean, I don't have any try. So then I sort of relaxed like fully, physically, and I mean, probably like, you're going to these Thai massages. Like I felt like after or during one of these massages, that just complete relaxation, and I was just sitting there very tired and thinking about other things than the game, of course, because there's no point to think about the position, because he was thinking for some reason. So, but I was just thinking about the next game, about other things, which I usually don't allow myself, but in this case I allowed because the game is basically over. And then suddenly he makes a move, and in a very panicky way. So then I kind of wakes me up a bit, and I see he made g5, which doesn't make much sense. Then I go h5, and already I think like, well, it's a bit suspicious, the body language that of his, and why to do g5 and why to do it in such a way. And then he went knight f4.
Just so I get it, the drawing setup is without the pawn on g5 if you just go knight e6 first.
With as well, I think. It's also drawn. But then, yeah, it's move 17 d3. That is, of course, still completely drawn because you can come back, but it's a sign that you really are, well, that's a sign that you don't see it. Or, I mean, that's a strange move to make because you should stick the knight back to e6. And like the most efficient way to show the opponent that you know the setup is just go knight e6 and then back to other squares, yeah? Not to d3. So then I go bishop d4, and then he goes knight e1 check, and suddenly I have to actually play the game again. But it was very hard because I was already having this time massage in my head, and yeah, I was kind of feeling really confused because, okay, I'm very happy, of course, that the game continues because maybe I'm winning already, but I was just not able to. I mean, I was not ready for it, you know.
Yeah, I know this. When you come back to the street from the time massage and you have to face the bright lights and.
Exactly. And all the fame coming. Yeah, but it's a little different, but still, I think we speak about the same thing. So yeah, I was. It was a fun experience, and I tried to focus, and but you can see, unfortunately, the way I played afterwards, that I didn't really manage to come back from the massage. I mean, I was also I didn't know because if I knew that he didn't want the knight on e6, yeah. So what is his defensive idea at all then? I mean, I didn't even know. And did he realize that knight should go back to e6 or not? And yeah, what is he trying to avoid? And should I try to sort of beat him like I beat Shankland to make him think he's lost, or should I actually win the position already?
Right.
And it was okay. I decided to try to stop this knight coming back from to e6, and somehow it was not easy to trap his knight. And okay, eventually I managed to trick him and get my king to f5, dominate his knight, and push e5. But on the way there were some opportunities for him as well. So it was funny ending there. But as you
struggles in long end games against Dutch guys, no?
Yeah, but this video time massages, it was a happy ending as well. So it was fine.
Normally I try to get the happy ending before, so if I win a chess game, I feel I deserve the time massage. That's why the early rounds are more productive.
I see.
Then, speaking of happy ending, your next game against Hare Krishna, it didn't start so well, I would say.
Yeah, I was very mad at myself for mixing up the move order because the thing was that I knew that you could, after bishop b7, rook e1, you can play both c4 or e6, and they were similar, or not exactly the same, but they probably lead to the same position, and deviations in both cases are not very dramatic. And I knew that both are fine there, but somehow I decided that already c4 and bishop b7 was the place where both moves were fine. But that was not the case. And as soon as I made my move, I realized immediately that I've done something terrible. And the problem was that I've done it after 2 minutes of thought. So then you have to imagine we start the game at like 3 o'clock, and at 3 o'clock, 7 minutes, I am already thinking, maybe I'm lost, you know. Because I also didn't know how bad it was. I mean, I knew it's very bad. I felt I'm probably tempo down to a position where I am kind of fine, but only fine. So I thought, I don't know, maybe I'm fully lost, maybe I'm a little bit lost, maybe I'm just worse. So it was hard, and I had to try to calculate, and I was very, I was very unhappy there. But okay, I thought I have to try to pose some problems, and in the end, I was very lucky that the game continues actually.
Had you seen these Svidler games? I think he fell into the same trap in an earlier game against Musichuk.
Yeah. No, I mean, by now I have, but I've very likely that I looked at this before those games. But sometimes when I look when I might miss a game because I don't always start by looking at the games. I mean, okay, I think you can be complete at your analysis without looking at games. And in general, you should be complete. In general, the analysis should be such that the games shouldn't be relevant to you, right? I mean, Whatever
Yeah,
they
that's
play
how I feel. Mhm.
should be irrelevant. So I don't say I don't care about games, but I don't consider missing a game to be a big sin. I consider missing a line in the file to be a big sin. But of course, when it was even played, it's more awkward because people will quote the games. But I think sometimes if you miss something which wasn't played but which is obviously shown by the computer, it's also equally big. I don't see any.
Speaking of that, when you look at games or when you look at a position preparing, is your default to look at human games in the position, or do you have like correspondence or computer games? Because often I just look at correspondence these days, frankly, and I ignore the human games.
Yeah, I remember one time the Kramnik a long time ago was telling me about some of his seconds. He said that, yeah, they're ridiculous. They start looking up the games. He was saying like, okay, the guys are ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, but no, games are, especially nowadays when there's so many players have some ideas, and also there are some competitors of mine who clearly look at the human games. So then I have to try to do similar as they do. So I try to see what guys have done, but as I said, I mean, I don't think that's the deciding thing. I mean, I think my analysis should be, it should make all these games irrelevant. It should include irrelevant games if they are relevant, and not include them if they're irrelevant. Basically, I think the analysis should just contain all the critical moves, and whether there was a game or not. I think most other people by now also have learned to check with the computers, and but it's now a bit different. I mean, of course, now if I tell one of my opponents that, okay, whatever, Fabio or Magnus or Levon or any of them, I'll tell them, okay, guys, today we're going to play, I don't know, d3, c3, Berlin, you will go d5, I'll play knight b2, you take on e4, I take on e4, we'll play that. If we agree on that, we will both be well prepared enough not to, the white will not be able to create black opening problems, I guess. But what is more important is that nowadays you don't have these agreements, because before people would often go into some kind of opening battles, and be aware. Yeah, okay. A rare case was, for example, in the World Championship match, they kept going for knight d5 line, and both players knew that it's going to happen. Yeah. Which is a rare case, but in that it's a little different because line is way too complicated, and there is knight b8 and there is knight e7, by the way. And in knight e7 there are still few lines, and in knight b8 there are few lines. But let's say if Magnus and Fabio would know they go for a particular one, let's say with knight e7 and then with bishop d7 and bishop f5, then of course one of the players would clearly, both players would have the same amount of information at their hands. So nowadays it's much more about trying to guess what your opponent hadn't looked at before the game. Other than the quality of analysis. I mean, I don't think the quality of my analysis is particularly better than any other top player, or way around. I think it's not about the quality, it's more about the direction you choose, where you can outsmart them.
Yeah, it's a weird trend. In general, the higher the level gets, the more flexible people are, and then often in the World Championship matches they stick to the same tabias, like against one opponent. It goes back to, let's discuss this one position. It's a bit confusing.
Yeah, it's nice to have you want to have information. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if Fabi knew all what Magnus does with black, he would pick another target, but you cannot, fish for information for 5 games. You have only 6 games. You fish 2-3 games, and then somebody you have to try to strike. And
you should have told us before the match. We were just fishing all the way.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, okay, what Magnus was doing with white in the match is. I think is a case of some psychological issues he's had, because I mean, clearly he was traumatized, by some of the first games, and he got the feeling that, okay, guy knows everything, and I'm going to be surprised everywhere. So, but in general, I think what Fabi did was more or less reasonable. But I mean, maybe if Magnus was more vulnerable in some d4 line, but you cannot explore forever, yeah. So in that way, they decided to stick on this tabia. But as I said, I think this tabia is very big. Yeah, I mean, still they're discussing, and there are all kinds of lines. So it's not like it's one position. It's one line from which it's like, let's say you could say we are discussing an Italian. Yeah, it's also not like it's just an Italian. There are like 10 lines there for both sides.
No, so also I don't think I'm revealing any secrets. You pick any random position in these 95s or move 15, and both sides still have a lot of different options and different schemes. So yeah, that's very
Yeah,
choice.
and also
Very
computer
pick
doesn't understand it very well at the low depth, which made it very fresh. And okay, way around, because it was very rich, computer didn't understand it, and because computer didn't understand it, it was very rich.
Right.
If a computer would right away show the truth everywhere, it would be easier for you guys to exhaust it. But I guess you and the Fabi team struggled going through lots of lines where computer was wrong and you had to go back and so on.
Yeah, it's not like Marshall where there's one in the sharp lines where there's one clear-cut route. Like
yeah, it's not enough to just wait 2 minutes and then press the spacebar. You probably have to wait for 2 hours, press a bit, wait for 2 hours more.
Time. There's all these time massages to be had.
Exactly, and there is no time, so you have to, make some moves of your own, and then God forbid, find some ideas. But that's.
So back to the game against Harry. You got a not very pretty position around move 17, let's say 96, check king f8.
Actually, I was very happy at that point.
Ah, you were happy already?
No,
okay.
that is where I was the happiest in the game, because I was really worried about d3 instead of b3. Because okay, you have to understand I was not aware of any of this. So after d3, I didn't see how I'm. I wanted to take and play e5, but it looked very, very dubious. And then after b3, I was surprised. And then after takes and bishop b7, 96 king f8, actually I thought I sort of survived the first wave, and he started thinking.
Okay.
I thought I just have to get g6, king g7, and I mean pawn structure-wise we are doing very fine. There's no pawns left. I'm not going to be pawned down, which is good. I didn't see how I'm getting mated, because after c4 I take a knight e5, which at the board looked to me fine, but it wasn't. But at the board it looked fine. And knight b7 I have queen e8. I didn't see any major problem. Actually, I was even surprised. I was really very happy at that point, because I thought I survived the first wave, and he doesn't know how to do it, and he doesn't see it. He started thinking for a very long time, and did something. What he did was actually pretty fine, but yeah, I was again unhappy after move like 25 when I realized I'm busted. But I think I could have improved around move after like rook e1. I have some queen b6 move, which I could have played. After c4, I could also play queen b6. But at that point, I still underestimated the position that we got.
Was this, by the way, after he had won his 4 games in a row already? Like.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was actually the 5th that was coming. No, but I mean, at the beginning of the game, right after c4, I mean, before recomposing myself again, I had a brief moment of a meltdown, of course. And then I thought to myself, like, I mean, okay, of course, Harry is a great player and everything, but he gets like, how to get like so lucky. I mean, he has a streak, and I'm just, after move 8, after 5 minutes, I'm handing him a point, you know? I mean, just how to be, you know, I was so, I cannot say angry, but I was thinking like, yeah, you know, these people who complain that the guy is so lucky, he's unbelievable, and yeah. That was my state for a while, and in that sense, I was happy that the game actually became a real fight.
Then, yeah, it was a tough defense for you for a long time. At what point did you think, now I made it, it's going to be a draw?
Yeah, well, I was the most desperate and unhappy around move 28. After 28 d5, I thought I'm totally busted. After already move 30 queen h4, I thought I am actually back in business a little bit. And then after the time control, well, actually, when I gave this queen f4 check, I didn't have to give it to move 37. I thought it's a draw. That's why I gave it. And only, and I simply thought it was a draw. And then around move 45, 46-ish, I realized that there are still some issues to be solved, like serious issues to be solved. Because I thought that, well, I basically thought that what happened will happen, but at some point I realized that it was not so simple as it looked. I mean, I thought I will give 1 pawn on the king side, I will have 2 against 1 of some sort, and it will be an easy draw, because I had a similar endgame against Yuan Yi where I saw a draw for him. But then I realized it's not really similar, because I don't have this blockading point, where my knight would sort of stand.
Right.
And from where he could come back to. So I would have to kind of defend it a little bit more dynamically, if you will. Yeah, I mean, ideally, of course, such endgame you want to have that extra pawn of his being blocked by your knight, and you want to have available squares for the knight to go to, so you're not zugzwanged ever. And once you have such a setup, you're really happy and you're calm, and there's a draw. But as long as the knight doesn't have that point where it really stands, and you don't have a clear fortress, then you have to somehow put some kind of a semi-fortress, then sometimes activate the knight, then sometimes activate the king, calculate something, and then it's never easy. And I realized this is such case, and honestly, I was actually quite concerned again when he regrouped the bishop to g3 in the game, just before the end, around move like 54. I started seeing that, 54 bishop e3. I already saw that bishop comes to g3, and I started seeing these things with king takes h5, king h6, king g7, and then I had little time, but I managed to find this king f3 knight e4 thing, and then I could calculate it out already because it was just forced, and it was just a draw.
Generally, would you say defending pretty unappealing positions is one of your strengths? I've noticed that you've saved quite a lot of bad-looking positions over the years, no?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I definitely was not my strength, that's for sure. There was a time when I was already 2700 player where I would not defend anything, like literally. Anything that was looking bad would be over, and my favorite thing back then was to blow myself up nicely, like to do some kind of desperate thing at the very start, to do some kind of pawn break or to do something very desperate, and then just it would end immediately. And that was a very big weakness of mine, and the country players like Nakamura, Karakin, they were much better at this, always at defending tenaciously. But I think, with some experience, it's a lot is about the. I think it's really the time management and sort of patience, because often certain positions you need to. Let's say you thought briefly about it, and you think, okay, this is the way to defend. But then when position is very bad, you cannot get away with a mistake anymore. Yeah. So then often you think like, well, this must be it. Then you make it, and then you say, oh no. But when you see oh no at that stage, if it's a bad position, it's pretty much the end of the game usually. Yeah.
Right.
So what you should do at that stage is to try to sort of rethink again, and that's not fun because the position is not really fun to think about. But you have to sort of do it all over again, and that is a bit a question of it's sort of a time management thing, because you need to spend a bit more time. At the same time, you shouldn't spend too much time, because then you're just gonna lose on time at some point, or be in time trouble and lose because of the time pressure. So the whole time management and patience thing becomes much harder. I think it's very hard for everyone to defend, and I mean, I'm very happy sometimes I managed, and it's very very good. It gives me a lot of confidence, because I think that is a really important quality, because you see players who do that well, like Karakin, for example. I mean, it almost made him a world champion. Yeah, the quality of saving bad positions.
Right.
It is so essential, and how many extra points? I mean, so-called extra points are gained by Hikaru. I mean, especially we speak about Hikaru in shape, yeah, or by Fabi, who is extremely tenacious defender. Yeah, Magnus himself was saying he lately didn't have such many opportunities to show that quality, but he also has it, of course, sometimes when needed, especially back in the day when he played a bit more passively. He would hold the last line of defense. That's very important, and I'm actually very happy that sometimes I have games like this against Ari, and that really gives you a lot of confidence, that you know that even if you are in some trouble, it's not the end yet. And that's very important. I don't think it's my natural quality or my natural strength, but it got a bit better over time, for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting, because generally for you as a theory guy, and also for me at a much lower level, you're not that used to getting bad positions, because normally the preparation is good, so you don't really develop that skill as easily as others who start with theory later.
That's why naturally I'm not good at that. But I think what actually helps is often during events where I'm playing well, it helps, because you have, in general, when you are doing well, you are much more resistant, and you see very often with players who are sort of past are in shape, like their play looks completely miserable, whereas when they're in good shape, they defend all these positions. So I think it also depends a bit. I mean, maybe when I played Harry, for example, I was still on +2, yeah, and then you're still feeling good, yeah. I guess in Shamkir, the way I resisted towards the end was not very good, yeah.
So the usual confidence is good in chess.
Surprise.
Do you agree with Magnus's thesis? He said, ideally his opponent should be treated as an idiot until proven otherwise. Like, I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I think in my case, usually I treat myself as an idiot until proven otherwise in my game. And I don't know if it's good for me. It's definitely how it is for the most part. And actually, it's not bad for me. I think there are many events where, and okay, for sure, for example, for Svidler, yeah, you see, Peter is at his best when he's terrified. Yeah, I mean, when he's unhappy, afraid, and concerned, and then he gets red, and then he starts defending. And I had many games with him myself like that, and I've seen many games of his. So he gets red, he starts defending, he gets very unhappy, he gets 100% focused, and he takes over so many times. I mean, I lost to him like this a few times because, you defend and then the trend switches, but he's already fully concentrated, and he's already survived the worst, yeah, psychologically. So I think it depends on people. I mean, for Magnus, it's maybe good. Also, maybe it's true that most players he plays are idiots. I mean, at least as I speak about myself. So then he simply thinks the true thing. And okay, when he is in a good shape, he indeed sees more than most other players. So it probably helps him. And also, I guess it seems, at least from his interview, he has lots of psychological issues during games, and it seems it really helps him when he gets rid of them. And this mindset helps him to feel confident.
Do you have that problem that you naturally underestimate your position? I have that. I always feel I'm worse, and it's, even though I know that about myself, I still feel it's an issue.
Well, to be very honest with you, I've far too often, when I don't know exactly the evaluation of the position, I learned to not even try to estimate it. Like I'm much more about sort of feeling. I mean, there are positions that I understand that are then I know who is better. Yeah.
Right.
But to be very honest with you, and okay, that's also the case with most other players. There are many positions where you don't really know for sure, and you operate just by feeling.
Yeah.
Yes, it's true that very often I feel worried when I shouldn't be feeling worried. But as is the case with Svidler, sometimes it helps me a little bit, I think.
Because I think Svidler said something similar, that he knows that about himself and therefore it doesn't really affect his play. So you have to factor it in.
Yeah, exactly. But in general, I'm not that pessimistic or anything. But well, let's say I have a very, very when especially in good shape, I have a very heightened sense of danger. So far before things go wrong, I sort of see them going wrong already. And that's why when I'm in good shape, I very rarely allow any sort of takeover. And I usually defend by margins. And as we saw, some games, I can even give up a queen for a pawn and still hold it.
Speaking of games against Ding, the next one was some Italian debate. Like, you had some fresh idea, but he defended well and it ended peacefully.
Yeah, actually, there was one. He defended all right, but at one point I gave the e3 pawn, and if I didn't, it was huge. Actually, I just missed this move, queen f4. It was very big for me. Move 25.
25. Here we are.
Well, his last move was a big mistake. I mean, I didn't expect it. I thought he'd go bishop h5 or knight e4, and then he went this bishop g6, and it's a little bit of an empty move, yeah, because it doesn't attack anything. To which I decided to respond with the dynamic bishop b2, which was a really bad idea, and then I just had to make a draw after that. I should have gone this queen f4, used the fact that he gave me some time, and then go bishop b2.
Is that the AlphaZero influence, or also Magnus sacrificing all these pawns that you felt like, okay, it's time to play dynamically and give the e3 pawn?
e3 pawn should be usually sacrificed. Well, yeah, a little bit, yes. I mean, to begin with, I am a pawn up, yeah, here, so it's always easier to sacrifice the extra pawn. Secondly, the lines I calculated before, there were many of them. I had issues with my c1 bishop. I mean, I saw some d4 sex somewhere, and I was very happy to to coordinate my pieces. I mean, it was a bit intuitive, and I frankly just missed rook f8, move 26. But yeah, I mean, I sort of learned that you can sacrifice pawn intuitively, but this was not the case. Should have done that. But okay, it was not a big deal. I mean, still, I mean, to beat Ding is not easy, and also I cannot complain about everything I missed, because my opponents also missed lots of things throughout, and you should not be counting what you should have scored or what you missed, or dwell on your mistakes. I mean, frankly, at this point, I was also too low on time. I think should have played a bit faster before, and in general, I didn't want to complain very much after this game. But as it was, actually, 25 queen f4 would give me a gigantic advantage.
Okay.
Surprisingly, yeah.
The next round against Rapport looked like a theoretical draw to me, or was there?
Yeah, well, that's one of the games I mean, I don't understand I had game like this against Wojtaszek, so it was not even.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know why he did it. He beat Harry the day before very nicely, and I mean, I'm not particularly scary, as we've discussed with you. I mean, you can just play against me. I did beat him in Vaikanze with black, but it's not a reason not to play. Yeah. So practically, he didn't really. But I was fine with it, because at that point I was sharing, and I had a better tiebreak, and I thought draw with black today, and then next game with white, where I will see what I have to do. I thought it was a good result.
Going to the last round, you were half a point behind Hare Krishna, so sort of a must-win situation either way, right?
Yeah, although I was half point behind, at the same time, if I share, I am
so if you lose
better tiebreaks. Yeah. So we have like we could say that we have equal points, and I have worse tiebreak or whatever. It's the same the way around. So I had to score half point more. Yeah, I mean, he had black against Ding, and I sort of thought that there is also some chance that Ding will put pressure on him. But of course, I was hoping to. I mean, to say I was hoping to win would be to overstate it. I was hoping to be able to put some pressure, at least that day.
During the game, do you follow the other game, or do you try?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. But I followed it very much, but it couldn't affect any of my decisions at this point, because I was quite quickly just better, and I had to just, well, I mean, position just plays itself, and I have to convert the pawn. So I was actually happy to see the Ding converted, because then I didn't have to win it. But in fact, I had to win it, because I was a pawn up, and not winning would be bad. So it didn't really affect any of my decisions. But it was, I don't know, maybe if okay, to be honest, it's not like my life depended on this result, or being ahead of Harry, who played an excellent event. It's not like my life depended on it, so I don't think it would be a gigantic pressure on me. But probably it was easier for me to play, not knowing that draw is not a disaster either. Yeah.
And also, some people in the past might have brought up that you didn't win so many super tournaments, so it's nice to win one, no?
Well, some people, I mean, let's call it what it is. Some people said I never won a super tournament. Yeah, I mean, let's just... So, I mean, that I don't win many super tournaments is simply true, but that there were people who were saying that I didn't win any. That is
you heard really, about Reggio Emilia not getting its proper respect.
Yeah, no, it is a pity, because my plan was to win a tournament, and then afterwards say like PT for the tournament. Now it's no longer going to be considered a super tournament. But then Peter Heine made this joke at the start already, a similar one. Then I thought, okay, the joke is already gone.
A quiz if it's or a survey if it's
that thing was already brought up way too early. Right. Actually, I'm very happy with the way the Peter Heine and Magnus are trying to motivate me and give me confidence. I mean, you have to understand, I mean, I came after last place in Shamkir, and I won just one game, and already Peter Heine brought up this thing of me potentially winning the tournament. It really gave me a lot of...
Yeah. Believed in you.
Yeah, that gives confidence. I remember one time I had a dinner in Spanish League, and Fresnel said something that he doesn't even remember. But he said something that made me really so much more confident for the rest of my career. I'm very grateful to these guys. They really bring out the best in me.
What did he say?
No, I cannot reveal that. But
okay.
it's not a big deal. But he just said something, and it's a bit personal. But he just said something, and he didn't even remember. I think it just was a phrase. But it was after I lost, and it made me feel much better. And I played very well in the tournament. And in general, often I look back to that moment when I feel not so well, and I think of Fresnel, and it's all good again.
He's a great motivator.
Yeah, somehow, yeah.
Yeah, so congratulations. Now what do we have to do? Should we change it to a tournament with Carlsen and or Caruana in it, or where do we have to put the bar?
No, but that's what I was already saying. I mean, it is quite funny that for me, you could divide tournaments between like tournaments with Carlsen and tournaments without Carlsen.
Right.
But for Carlsen, like all tournaments are without Carlsen, yeah.
Right.
Makes it much easier for him to play. I mean, he never has to score more than Carlsen. He never has to face Carlsen. He never has to face Carlsen with white, never with black. It's just, I mean, I understand why he plays so well. It's much easier. Okay, Fabiano.
So you don't think he categorizes them into Giri, non-Giri tournaments? Not yet.
Interesting. I never thought about it, but no, and I don't think, to be honest, he always says that Fabi is particularly better than others or something, but I really don't know if he thinks that way. I really wouldn't know why he would fear Fabi more than others, or.
Well, it's hard to argue with Fabi's results, especially in 2018. No, like he was better than everybody else.
Yeah, and he had this streak, of course, and the 7 out of 7, where I wasn't there, so I didn't see it, but Magnus was there, and must have been very painful that time. So maybe he has traumatized a bit from that, but I mean, Fabiano clearly has his own weaknesses, and yeah, I don't think he's particularly ahead of the rest, but yeah, he of course had many good. He won many tournaments also, and he's world number 2 right now, I guess. So, and even in the Grenka tournament, he finished second. Yeah.
Yeah, 6 out of 9. Like was pretty solid.
No, it's good for sure. No, he had some good results, for sure.
So I think we talked about this last time. In general, your view of the hierarchy is unclear behind Magnus, or how would you rate it?
Yeah, it's hard to say. No, like I told you last time that I think the people's shape changes. Yeah, and I said that Fabi might not be doing very well, but he did very very well. Yeah, which frankly surprised me a bit. I mean, I like Fabiano and I wish him well. Though to be frank, I wish all my concurrents bad results, but it's physically impossible because they play each other, so they have to beat each other. But in general, I wish all my competitors to do badly. But Fabi I like on the personal level, but I thought he would not do so well after the World Championship match. I mean, I thought it would be difficult for him to find motivation, but I think he just keeps doing what he's doing, and literally he keeps checking the Sveshnikov. So that's probably
good opening.
I think it's a good way to just move on from the match and not pretend it never happened. At the same time, to just sort of, to embrace the match within yourself, to just keep checking the same lines after. I think that's an interesting psychological trick there by Fabi and Kasim. But yeah, for right now, his results are, of course, he plays also very well, and I play very shaky in Shamkir. I won this tournament. I'm not particularly impressed with my own play, or I don't think I played particularly well. I've made also many mistakes in the conversion phase and so on. So I wouldn't put myself very high, but right now it doesn't even matter so much, because I remember Karakin, he qualified to the match during a year where he actually otherwise played quite poorly. He was pretty low before, and he just won this whole cycle. So in that sense, I'm looking forward to the cycle, and I'm going to try to show my best. And I'm curious to see also if Magnus will maintain his level. He is very, very realistic about things himself, and he said that he doesn't expect it to last forever, which is good, because it would have been worrying if he expected it to last forever, because maybe it would. But he himself seems to think that it will be over at some point, and then okay, we'll be back to humans playing each other, and it's going to be fine.
So in general, if you wish all your competitors bad results, does Magnus' dominance in a way help you because no one else can have great results, or is still he's the main competitor?
Yeah,
so
it's
he's
hard
the
to
main
say because
guy to look at?
yeah, well, it's hard to say. Actually, it's true. In a way, he's not really. He's way too far sometimes, so he's not really my main competitor, and that sometimes also hurts me a bit when we play because, for example, the stuff I play, I don't particularly think it's good to play against him. But okay, I just play these things, so then I end up going for them anyway. And of course, I consider sometimes to prepare for Magnus like separately, altogether, just, and I sort of do it a little bit sometimes, but then it is of course harder to motivate myself to do it because it's just one of the many games, yeah. And also, it's very wrong to focus on only Magnus when you have like 8 other games. So in that sense, it's it's a bit harder for me to prepare against him. But yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, of course, it's really fun when he's doing badly. That's for sure. And then somebody else has to do well. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, the ideal scenario would be, of course, that he's doing badly, I'm doing well, but everybody else also doing badly. But it's hard to imagine. But as I already said, by the way, many times, I just see it separately. I mean, I really like all these guys. They're very good people and they're very talented players, and I really wish them well. But just in the short term, to see a competitor miscalculate or miss some kind of game of Swidler, it is just so nice, and it just makes you feel very good.
I hear you. So, first of all, we have to give a shout out to the Erwin Lamy Rehabilitation Project, because your 2 great results in Vaikansee came with Vladimir Chuchilov as your main helper, and then you had Chuchilov in Shamkir and it didn't go well, and Lamy +3 in Shenzhen. So where does that leave your seconds hierarchy right now?
It's indeed remarkable that I had these 2 results with Vladimir before, and now it's nice. I mean, it's nice to. I mean, my seconds, they really helped me immensely, and but it is still nice, I think, sometimes to feel a little independency from people in some sense, because I had some experiences in the past when I had different trainers, and then when you stop working with a certain trainer or you don't go with him somewhere, especially when in general you're not a very confident guy, then you might or it doesn't even have to be a person, it can be even a superstition. Some people, they are attached to their pens or whatever. Yeah, that is really insane. But let's say you can be attached to for example, sleeping hours. Like if you didn't sleep, let's say 8 hours but less, you're not going to be playing well, right? And that of course hurts you also indirectly, because not only did it suck you didn't sleep well, but you also feel like you should play badly because you didn't sleep well. So in a way, I try to take distance from all these other factors around me so that I don't depend on them in some sense.
You hear those, Erwin? This sounds like a threat to me.
No, I don't mean.
No, I'm joking. I understand what you're saying.
But I mean, it actually is kind of a strange thing that I'm saying, probably, but it doesn't apply so much to seconds. It's more just in general. And I don't know if it's really clear what I mean, but I think other players, they understand what I mean. And for example, I think Magnus, he has probably some new girlfriend right now, and that is maybe why he thinks he's playing well.
Breaking news! I didn't dare to ask him. I don't know, honestly, but yeah, I heard the rumors.
Hey, come on. Yeah, I mean, you didn't know? You probably arranged the whole thing.
I wish I had that power.
No, so I mean, or some people are attached to. I mean, you should not be attached to a particular thing when you. There shouldn't be a particular thing that gives you confidence, I think. Otherwise, you are dependent on that particular.
No, I get your point. It's like with the superstitions. If you feel like, okay,
yes,
if I don't go to breakfast before 9:45, I'm going to lose, and then you don't make it, you feel bad already.
Yeah, suppose you didn't make that by accident, or suppose your trainer cannot come to a knockout event. Let's say, suppose you play a decisive game, and then your trainer, for example, he falls ill or whatever. Yeah, he cannot prepare you, or you should still be. You should still try to gain confidence from within you, and not from a superstition or something like that. Yeah.
Speaking of trainers, Magnus mentioned a book written by Tukmakov in a chapter about you. I think we both haven't read the book, but do you have any insights on what he said about you?
No, I'm actually very, very curious because, the good news is that I think we sort of are on friendly terms. So I think it shouldn't be anything bad. Because I saw one interview of his about Wesley So, and that was really bad. So
yeah, I read that too. That wasn't.
That was really not good. I mean, he claimed like Wesley didn't have some cultural enough chess culture or something. I mean, it's just not a very nice thing to say. But I think I'm fine there. And I'm also curious because I remember one time I said something about my game with Magnus. I think somewhere in Vaikanzei tournament a long time ago we played a game, and Magnus said that it's tough to beat Giri because he played against me with black. He said like when he doesn't get any opening advantage, he just shuts the game down. And I thought it was true. And I sort of said, like, somebody asked me, and I said like that's true, and that's what makes it hard for him to beat me, because if I don't get any advantage, I shut the game down. And actually I even did that the next day. But then my trainer sort of said like, but why did you say that, Vladimir? He took Markov. He said like, why did you say that? And I said like, but I mean, it's just the case, no? And he's like, but at first he was a bit upset because he thought like, well, it's kind of it's not a very confident thing to say, yeah.
Right.
Then he thought about it a bit and he said like, it's fine. First of all, it's not clear if you meant what you said, and secondly, it's what's more important, even if you meant what you said, it's not necessarily the case that you're going to think like that in the future.
Okay.
And I thought it was an interesting thing he said, and I think it applies here as well. I mean, whatever he said about me, it doesn't have to apply in the future.
Okay, we're going to have to find out. A lot of shout-outs for the Tukmakov book I haven't read.
Very curious, yeah.
So you've mentioned already the next big step, of course, for you will be to qualify for the candidates. Where do you think you have the best chances? What does the schedule look like?
Yeah, it's so hard to. I mean, to be honest, it's going to be a fun cycle, but the way every event is sort of done is that it seems that you need luck in. Like I have sort of a lot of chances on paper, but in each of them I have to be really lucky, because the Swiss event simply is one spot, and that's like a gigantic top 100 Swiss, where only one qualifies, so that's statistically very unlikely. And you have the World Cup, which is always statistically unlikely, and then you have these knockouts, which are again not entirely reliable, and the rating is only one spot, I believe. Yeah. So in some sense, everybody. I mean, that applies not to me, but just to all the players, because I consider my chances equal to all other competitors from the top 10 or whatever. Yeah. So like everybody has a very low chance in a way everywhere, yeah? Because at least before the Grand Prix they were much less random because of they were this long, boring, semi-closed events, yeah,
right,
where you had a lot of chances to be back and you could score +1, +2, or still be in chances. And now you have these knockouts. But somehow I'm looking forward to it much more than when they announced it. I mean, now I'm really looking forward to Moscow, because maybe it's kind of sounds fun to play some knockout event, and it's a smaller one than World Cup, but yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to it, but I wouldn't necessarily. I don't see why I would have particularly high chances. But I, just like everyone else, I'm really gonna give it a shot, and it's very motivating, of course, this year that I have so many things to prepare for and to play.
Do you feel the new system in a way favors the rapid blitz specialist a bit more than in the past? You're not known as a rapid specialist, and now you have all these rapid tie breaks and that kind of stuff. Is that a problem?
In that sense, yeah, possibly. Of course, the knockouts, they will, after 2 games, they're going to be rapid and blitz.
Your knockouts,
I think the
in
main
the
reason
Cup
why...
as well.
Yeah, I think the main reason they did the knockouts is because the Grand Prix tournaments, for some reason, traditionally were not very much followed in the chess world. And I think knockouts are going to be inevitably very popular when it comes to following. Yeah, I mean, it's very spectacular. So I think they thought only about that. I don't think they favor on or unfavored rapid blitz players on purpose, let's say.
No, I don't think it was on purpose. I was just wondering if for you it's a
yeah.
thing on your mind.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, to be honest, I don't know. Also, like, who is really the rapid? I mean, okay, probably let's say Hikaru or Nepo are slightly better in rapid and blitz than otherwise. But other than these two, I mean, I think other players are more or less okay. Karakin may be a little bit stronger in the blitz. Or also, I remember when I talked about it with Bashir once in some World Cup, he told me that he didn't consider himself favored against me in rapid, which I thought was very nice. And he said only in the blitz. And then he also many people say that these tie breaks are different than the rapid or blitz events. It's hard to say really. I mean, for sure, nerves play a much bigger role than all that. And for example, Karakin has been always doing well, because he has a very good nervous system. But yes, I said I'm really looking forward for some reason to this Moscow and see how it goes. I really wouldn't know, but I have a feeling it slightly favors the random guy, so to speak. I mean,
there's more variance in who could qualify. We won't get whatever, 8 out of the top 15.
Yes, exactly. That's what I mean. I mean, I think it's more likely a player who is not in the top 10 qualifies now than before. Just because the chances of the top 10 players all slightly diminished because it became a bit more random. But as I said, it was also not easy for me even before. I think last cycle I didn't play the candidates. I mean, these Grand Prix were also they were never easy. It was always tough. So it's not like for me it became now much harder or anything. I don't know. I just have to do well.
All right. I think we covered everything. Let me look on my secret list of questions. Oh yeah, I have to ask about the Magnus beard tweet, of course. Were you happy that he shaved on the rest day? Did you feel like you made him do it? He denied he saw your tweet.
Oh. Yeah, well, that's very childish. I mean, if you already admit a defeat, at least admit it properly, yeah?
I mean, to say
that you haven't seen my tweet, I mean, there's not a person in the world that doesn't see my tweets. I mean, that is ridiculous.
Wow, 50,000 followers.
Yeah, that is, I mean, sorry, like all his surrounding is just constantly, he probably has 2 people who are fully professionally following my Twitter page. And then I did not counting PH, who does it just as a hobby. So, I mean, just to say that he missed my tweet and yeah, but beards, they can be bothering. I mean, yeah, it's not fun to have a beard. Of course, eventually you will end up shaving it. So in that sense, my tweet was pretty safe.
Fair enough. All right, Anish, thank you so much for your time. And yeah, best of luck doing, what does it say? Do more of what makes you happy.
Thank you. That's a very famous Banter Blitz show motto of Sopiko, so that's why
okay.
I mean, she always sits here and it's always visible there. So it's, I don't know since
I
when.
Just out myself that I never watch her shows, which of course is not true.
Well, nobody watches yours either, so don't flatter yourself.
Okay, my best regard to Sopiko and the rest of the family. Thanks for your time, Anish.
Yes, thank you.